Hello and welcome to another selection of the hottest Q&As Reddit has to offer. Republicans who will not be voting for Trump this time around, what was the breaking point for you? Comparing his coronavirus briefing ratings to the Bachelor. Was that the one where he lost his crap at a reporter asking a softball question of what do you say to Americans that are scared? He went on a rant about a terrible reporter he was for asking that and how good his ratings were for these speeches. I talked about this to one of my Trump-loving coworkers and she said well it was a really stupid question, and when I mentioned he could have very easily chose to forego his own ego and unify the country a little bit by giving some Americans thrive through adversity bull poop for the media, she just stared at me blankly like Jay was the idiot. When he posted a tweet about not going to be a bad president that would go golfing for a month, but that's what he did. Pretty sure he has golfed more than any president in the past. And he chose to golf in Florida, which burned through all of the Secret Service budget almost immediately. He actually often stays at his own hotels in Florida, funneling the Secret Service budget into his own pocket. Matt is stepping down. I respect that man more than almost any other. I can't fathom what the breaking point was, and I am terrified to read the memoir when it comes out. With Trump at me, we all care about the things that matter to us, and those things are individual to each of us. You fail to see how many of us were voting against Hillary, while you were dismissing our issues with her. A friend told my wife if you don't vote Hillary, you're a traitor to your gender, while completely dismissing the policy issues we had. Being smug, elitist and condescending is exactly what got us here. I've admitted my error, and if you're just going to antagonize, you are part of the problem. Also, thank you for the gold, silver, etc. The way he talks to world leaders is an embarrassment to our whole country. Some people are just too dense to see it. I mean, famously the European leaders were mocking him behind his back. The UN laughed in his face. I don't know if the rally took place before or after he was elected, but I didn't see it until after. It was the one where he talked about how he hates windmills, and I believe he said he knows more about wind than anybody. Then did a bit about not being able to watch TV because it's not a windy day. That was when I became embarrassed about my vote and started to regret it. It only got worse after that. Those things was hilarious up until you realized that someone that said that could be one of the world's most powerful people. I unfortunately fall into the camp of people who voted for him because I hated Clinton. It's not really a situation of where I realized when I wouldn't vote for him again, it's more like when I realized I fricked up. I can't think of a specific moment, but I think it was the realization that he wasn't just saying things and enacting policies that were opposed to previous Democrat ideas and policies, he was just saying whatever crazy crap came to mind. He is also a horrid racist and bigot, and honestly not mentally healthy. Hey man, at least you have the balls to admit you made a mistake and call a spade a spade. You aren't doubling down, cherry picking, or doing mental gymnastics like my dad and uncle to justify his actions. This is a difficult question. For context, I am 22M, and 2016 was my first election. Anyway, here goes. I didn't like him when I voted for him. I supported Kasich in the primary, and ended up voting Cruz because he had the best chance of beating Trump in my state of Indiana. I really only chose him because he wasn't Clinton, and as I am a conservative, there were some things he pushed that aligned with my views. However, since the election I have been progressively less and less impressed with both him and my party. It's hard to point to exactly one thing that pushed me over the edge, but the major events that catapulted me away from him are probably the following. 1. Grab him by the pussy. 2. Mocking a disabled person. My brother has Down syndrome, so this one really gets to me. 3. His tendency to nickname everyone he competes with, Lion Ted, Crazy Bernie, Sleepy Joe, Crooked Hillary, Do Nothing Democrats, etc. My dad repeated one of these a while back, and I let him know that if he continued to use these terms, I would instantly lose much of my respect for him. I was raised in an ultra-conservative family. I only started to pay attention to politics during Obama's presidency, which I was promised would result in Sharia law being imposed on America. I saw Fox, my parents, and those around me rail against Obama every day, listing off the various ways he would destroy the country. I cast a vote for Trump knowing that in a blue state it didn't really matter, so I didn't have to question/research it, and figured he would lose anyway, absolving me of any blame for a Clinton presidency. My biggest regret is making the popular vote closer. My family, Fox, and those around me have all completely rejected their values to follow Trump every day he does something they vowed Obama would do to ruin the country, and they twist themselves explaining why it's actually a good thing. My good wholesome Christian family members are now some of the most genuinely racist and least intellectual people I know. But there are other siblings like me as well. And they give me hope. It took me about 3 months of being a casual follower of politics to start being involved in local elections, driving an hour plus to vote, and actually paying attention. I've, hopefully, started to make up for my mistake by voting more intelligently in the last primary and having discussions with the siblings that are asking similar questions. I can say without hesitation that people who are voting for Trump are either utterly politically apathetic, formerly me, or filled with hate, whether they think about it or not. He simply isn't an intelligent vote with all we've seen. When he tweeted about a fake Russian propaganda bullcrap article about how the old man that got pushed over by the cops and in the hospital for a week was a spy. Can't even believe how stupid Trump is, can't believe that people still support him. I effing know. My boss, who is in his 30s and works a salary at a pizza joint, had hella a lot to say about Bernie, and liberals in general. However, I've had conversations with him where he would stutter and still manage to find a way to decriminalize Trump's actions. I recall showing my friend the injecting disinfectants incident and we were just laughing. Mother effer got ears like a fricking owl over here and storms to the front exclaiming, "Is there a video though, Ladle? Is there a video? Did you actually see it happen, or was it some liberal article?" I pulled up the video. He still managed to chalk it up to sarcasm. My breaking point was the tweets to Michigan and Virginia stating they were coming for their guns during the primaries, or something similar. You simply shouldn't purposefully turn your own citizens against each other. That really scared me. Meanwhile, he actually said take the guns first, go through due process second, referring to confiscating guns from people who are suspected of being potential criminals but have not committed any crime. What an insane violation of rights, and these Second Amendment people still drool over him like he's some great champion. Barack Obama was certainly not a fan of the Second Amendment, but he never considered anything so insane. The exact thing that gun owners feared, baselessly, cops coming to their doors demanding their guns, was actually advocated by Donald Trump on video. When I realized his words had no meaning. You literally can't trust anything he says. It could be blatant lies and he wouldn't care at all. It's dangerous. I was on the executive board of my college's Republican Party organization. It's been a long couple of years. My family and some friends though will still try to justify what he says. He's just trolling the liberals, he's getting back at the fake news. The last presidential election was the first time I could vote. I've grown up in a red state. My family watches Fox News. I went to a really conservative church. It took a couple years of college to snap me out of it. I'm pretty moderate now. It's a microcosm of thinking and hate where you have to keep making excuses and justifying his actions to continue to be sane. That's where the alternative news networks come into play. They make people think they're the victims. That the liberals and George Soros are trying to take our guns and disrespect our flag. All protesters are rioters. Etc. I used to be a Republican up until a few months after the last election. The breaking point for me was how hateful Trump supporters became. They would take the bold things he would say and use them to insult anyone who didn't agree with Trump or his ways. I just could not stand to be associated with so much hate. That and Trump is effing insane. But his supporters just kind of brush that stuff under the rug because, well, they're Republicans so they have to accept him. I don't believe it should be that way. If someone isn't doing the right thing, you shouldn't just be okay with it because that's your political belief. But such is the way a lot of things are in America. I've chosen to just not associate with a political party anymore. Well, I just changed my affiliation 2 weeks ago, but had been a Republican since I first registered 25 years ago. When he had so many people removed from their jobs in his team because they came out and said something he didn't agree with. No one expects the president to know everything. You are supposed to find the best people to get you the information needed. It took me less than 6 months after he was inaugurated before I realized I made a huge mistake in voting for Trump. Just the way he handled himself, the people around him, those different from him, and his immediate lying made me realize that he is not mentally well. I should have seen the signs with the grab them by the pussy reveal, but at the time I was a Republican, and wanted to stick with the party vote. Trump and his bootlicking army of sycophants have caused me to switch my political affiliations because I can't be a part of a political party that marginalizes non-white people and does everything in its power to destroy the environment and dissuade immigration. And please don't bring up your Democrats founded the Klan bullcrap. That was over 200 years ago, and the racial perspectives of the Democratic and Republican parties have reversed. It is my fervent hope that the House stays blue, the Senate turns blue, and Trump is defeated. Most of all, I want to see Trump being led away in handcuffs for the crimes he's committed before and during his presidency. I draw the line at the president wanting the police and military to shoot his own citizens. You know how we defended the Second Amendment during those gun control arguments? We wanted our guns for this exact situation, remember? I was never a Trump supporter, however this is exactly where I expected to see a big break with his supporters, and when I didn't, it was shocking. What would have been your answer or question? Leave it in the comments below. Slap that like and subscribe button for more, and check out the link in the video description for even more answers. Peace out, and catch you in the next video.